Okay, folks, game week 228, kind of an interesting one for a number of reasons. We're going to get into it in just one sec. If we look at last weekend, though, really nothing too surprising here. The points are kind of where you'd expect. Maybe a little on the high side into the 360s, 370s, and whatnot to win a tier 2 card. So it's just getting really pricey to get any card of note. You'll be reminded if you're new to this series that I highlight not just the tier 3, which is kind of the entry level card, if you will, if you were to win a card, but these tier 2s are kind of actually when you start to get a card that at least has some value for you. The tier 3s really don't have a whole lot. So those ones are important to think of from an aspirational point of view. Obviously, even more tier 1s and stars are better, of course, but yeah, if you need 370, 368, things like that to get into those cards, it's really getting tight right now. Even down in limited, it's a little better, but again, you have a 368, 350 here. So yeah, things are getting a little Ebenezer Scroogey right now, I think, over at the Sorare Shack. So let's get across here to this game week, and we see even more of that. You know, it's like the gang at Sorare are sort of all nestled together just by the fire, you know, just kind of bunkering down, not really handing out the rewards per se. Here we see, and sorry, my laptop's a little jumpy today for some reason. These numbers are sort of, this was a really, really slow midweek, this one that we're currently in. And you can see the numbers are only kind of double for this weekend, when really there should be much higher, obviously triple here, but still, these are some of the lowest for a fairly busy game week that I've seen in a while. If you go down to limited as well, again, the numbers aren't anything special compared to what we've seen over most weekends over the last 6 weeks or so. So, you know, really not as many prizes on offer. I'm not sure what's going on exactly. Again, maybe there's a bit of a reset occurring, and we'll start to see some changes or some announcements coming up. I don't know. I pointed this out last week, but the prizes, you know, again, or I think this was midweek, like they're all kind of rounded off. So if we look at rare, it's a good example, like 370, 125. These are all kind of round numbers, obviously. And that just seems against the whole dynamic reward structure. It seems like they've kind of set a number. They're kind of going back to that. So I'm sure it's dynamic to some degree based on the number of participants, but it's also sort of has like kind of a set number that we're seeing here. The one kind of other random note is that the competition, it seems for at least a few months now, several weeks at least, the special weekly kind of wasn't given a whole lot of thought. It was just kind of a repeat of ones from previous weeks, kind of not much in there. Now they've kind of went and had a bit of fun. So it's players with a nationality other than Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia, down South America, and France and Spain and Europe. So I found it kind of hard to sort of wrap my head around. I had to kind of go in and see if I could enter a team to see if it made sense, but they're not handing out a whole lot for this anyways. So, you know, take it for what you will. So there we are. You know, overall, the other thing is we're seeing games getting canceled and postponed and stuff with COVID. So this is just a really tricky time. It's a tricky time to set some lineups. It might be a time to just like get as many lineups in everywhere that you can, because I mean, you might just luck out where a whole bunch of teams end up becoming have a lot of DNPs and stuff, and you just kind of were lucky that you had a full 5 playing. So just get in there, even though it's a bit uncertain. And also, just, it goes without saying, but just for yourself, stay safe out there. There's a lot going on around the world right now. So please protect yourself and your family. So let's get into actually some recommendations on players. So, you know, we talk about this, you know, the what's going on in the world and COVID and everything. And to the point that we understand that the African Cup of Nations is even uncertain whether it'll go ahead or whether it'll get moved. I've seen reports that it might get bumped closer by a week, and I've also seen reports that it may actually get postponed completely. So I don't want to go too deep into recommending teams and players and things like that. I think we should all be in a bit of a holding pattern right now in terms of making major purchases. But I thought, well, if I had to focus on some players, some teams that might be worthwhile. There's really two key favorites. There's Egypt and Ghana are really the favorites for the tournament. So at least if you're investing in them, they're also pretty strong in terms of World Cup qualifying. And have players that potentially play domestically pretty well as well. So let's at least look at those. Again, tread cautiously over the next little bit. You might want to hold out and wait, but figured let's get this video up. At least you'll be ahead of maybe the others that are doing some scouting. We'll go from there. Egypt doesn't have a whole lot of players that you can buy on Sorare. Mo Salah, the big exception. He's very expensive, as you'd imagine. If you can afford it, go for it. But I'm not here to recommend that one. I would love to own him myself, but so there's two guys here that jump out at me. So, or three rather. So Ahmed Yasser Rayyan, probably the least of my recommendations, but he's just, very kind of affordable right now. And the only reason I kind of call it out is that they gave him some run. He's a young kid. I think he was on their U23. But they had him playing in the last sort of meaningful game, if you will, meaningful. Here he is. And they're currently in the Arab Cup. I think they got bounced out by Tunisia last night. But so these are all just kind of like their sort of B-side. So I wouldn't look at any of these lineups. But back here, he got a bit of run. So just if you're looking for somebody that might kind of come out of nowhere, be a cheap investment. Not really playing a whole lot for domestically as well. So like I said, probably the least of my recommendations, but just want to put it out there. Mustafa Mohamed for Galatasaray. So I've followed him for quite some time. I had a number of Galatasaray players. I bought some bundles back in the spring, and he kept kind of pinching some minutes from some of the guys I had, Turkoglu and Dervisoglu and guys like that. So anyways, he definitely goes on little runs here, and he can put up some nice numbers. So he's not terrible to invest in. He's sort of still kind of coming into his prime at 24. Only available on the rare side. 100 is, I think we're seeing like a little bit of a rise. I think you'll see this here. Yeah, so starting to come up in price. So again, maybe a moderate recommendation. I mean, what I like is that they've been giving him time with Salah. Not so much this one, but we see here. Oh, whoops, hold on, I was there. We'll see here. Here he is on the left, Salah on the right. I think he scored the goal in this one, a goal in this 3-0 win as well. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, here it is. So here he's playing center. So kind of interesting to me. Certainly if you're looking for rare cards, he might be one that might pop a little bit. Anyone playing next to Salah is going to do pretty well, I would imagine. And then Marmoush, the other one. So in this instance, you get a nice young guy, 22 years old. He's obviously pretty pricey on the rare side, but I'd say not so much, or at least pretty affordable in the limited still. And what you see for Stuttgart, you have some nice scores that he's on. This might have been an injury here, but prior to that, some pretty good scores as well. So young guy kind of coming into his own, and a few games ago kind of got to play alongside these two. So, might be one of those kind of young stars that comes up and really proves himself, especially with Egypt as the favorite for the tournament. So I like that one. That's probably one I might, especially on the limited side, just to kind of throw a little bit of money at it and see how it turns out. And, at worst, you have a nice young chip that's going to continue to develop. If we move over to the Ghana side, so a couple guys jump out at me here, two of them really. Mohamed Kudus, so expected return in mid-December, so should be any time now. It's fractured ribs that he has, so sometimes that can take a while, it can linger, but in theory he should be okay in the next few weeks and play for Ghana. And then Sulemana as well. So what I like about them, first off, Sulemana a little pricier than Kudus. His price has been rising a little, but only not by a ton necessarily. But young guy, 19 years old, and his value is I think it's 22 million on the wrong one here on transfer market. So I mean, look at this, just shooting up, 22 mil, and Kudus at the same time is, I think, is at 18 or something. 16.5, and also kind of shot up here for Ajax. So two young guys that could really take the tournament by storm. He's certainly more affordable on both the limited and the rare side. As you'd imagine, they're young, so they're not getting as much playing time, but he definitely has had some nice stretches here and there. And Sulemana as well, really kind of in this mid cluster right here, not so bad. So I quite like this one, and what we see when we actually go to their matches is really exciting for me. If sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but what we see is they're basically side by side every match. So like here and here, there they are. Go to the last one. It's a little slow, but and there they are as well. And then, you get my point. But basically, as you go up and down the matches, they seem to be either side by side, or I think in one instance, Sulemana played up. So here they are again. And then I think they moved Sulemana up to forward in against Zimbabwe, might have been. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, so up here. Just really kind of interesting for me. Definitely guys I'm going to kind of keep an eye on, and we'll see. That's if the tournament's going forward. So again, tread cautiously. Stay safe out there. We'll talk again soon. Okay, bye.